Welcome to WROL Broadcast. I am Hate Mail. With me today we have Tewty-toon
Whoop.
and the long-lost Bizarro.
Goodbye, everybody.
Haven't seen you around in a little while. Haven't even seen you in chats in a little bit.
Yeah, I've been dealing with all kind of personal stuff. It's like you watch those old cartoons where the dam has one hole come in and the character puts a finger in, and then another hole opens up and you put another finger in, and so on until all their fingers and toes. And that's me right now.
That's unfortunate.
Speaking of plugging holes, Tewty-toon, we are talking about Indigo, and your big time retirement episode that we had you on most recently led you to RB5 shards for Indigo. Is that correct?
Okay. Yes, let's address that. So I said that right before the kits dropped for Indigo. And I looked at it and I was like, she looks kind of meh. And then somehow I later on had this epiphany that I was like, holy crap, her kit actually is the missing link that I've needed for my Ra's al Ghul team to be, decent. She's like a support character. She makes my slow team somewhat faster, and that's really all I was looking for. And she has some good utility too, so I'm very happy with her kit.
On that note, I actually didn't like her. Tested her on a bunch of teams. I wasn't getting anywhere with her, and I was like, well, I've probably only tried Tewty-toon's team maybe once in my life, so let me just see how she goes on that. And I could not believe how good that team was. I was shocked taking on Lex teams and actually beating them pretty easily.
Yeah, you just have to think about it a little bit. It's not going to be a fast match, you're bringing your Arcus or anything and just killing everybody, but it's fun, it's enjoyable, and it works. So I love it.
I couldn't find a lot of other teams that she works on, but that team, she definitely seems to... That does seem to fill that void. She does work, and I think maybe there's some other teams to be had with her that I haven't really experimented enough with her yet. Bizarro, have you? What do you think of Indigo? Have you been messing around with her at all? And I do see you're on mute.
Sorry about that. I have messed with her a little bit, and I've been staring at her kit in preparation for the podcast, and I don't know what to think when I use her, because sometimes I think, you can have a character like with Wonder Girl where they do so many things, but they do them well, and then you can have a character who does one thing, but they do that one thing very well. And I can't figure out if she really matches either of those categories, or if she's more like a Bizarro where she does a whole lot of things, but they don't really match together, and it's not a good kit. And I tend to actually lean toward that third one, and I can tell you some of the things that are always causes for concern for me, which is if any move is below 100%, because of my RNG, I'm always suspect of a move below 100%. So two of her moves I think cap out at 75%. And even when I've been using Azrael, who caps out at 75% at some things, a lot of time it's not proccing for me. And so I'm always a little hesitant when it's not a guarantee.
That's fair. Whatchamacallit, I wouldn't compare her to Bizarro. I would compare her to Ocean Master, who has a kit that not everybody loves, but it's still good at what he does, even though it's exceedingly niche, right? He would fit really well on a shield team. He fits really well with Penguin, but that's kind of about it. So if you form the team around that niche, then they're going to excel. But any other time, they're probably not going to be crazy good.
What was the team that you? I had muted myself, so you didn't hear me ask the question. But what was the team that you and Hate were discussing that works so well?
It's Ra's al Ghul lead, and then it is Hush, Indigo, and either Chemo or Grundy. Chemo works a little bit better right now just because mine is higher rebirthed and can slow down the enemy pretty well, and bring them back down to my team's speed level. But the call assist on Grundy's just as good too.
I actually like Chemo better. I experimented with both of them because you get more debuffs for the enemy. And Chemo just seems to be, I don't know, I think Chemo's a better character overall. But yeah, I could see both of them working. And we probably should have mentioned that to the audience.
Yeah.
I have no idea who that team is, so thanks for asking, Bizarro.
Yeah, no problem.
I do
I
think
asked
she's...
earlier, but you couldn't hear me. Why couldn't you hear me? Just kidding.
I do think she's better than like a Bizarro character, and she's probably, I would even maybe, yeah, Ocean Master's probably a good comparison, maybe even slightly better than Ocean Master, on the teams that I think she excels on, which are those heavy debuff teams. But that she does, I don't know, I thought she was terrible when I first started using her, and now, I mean, mine's only L3, and she's not bad. She's not a terrible character. I mean, she's probably a low B tier character.
I agree.
Yeah, I would say that too.
Maybe even a C. Kind of right in that niche where they're not trash, but you're probably not going to see them out there too much, which is your favorite kind of characters, Tootie.
You're right. It's exactly my favorite kind of character. But she has all this great utility too. Like, sure, you can either open with her 3, which purges off a bunch of buffs. So, like, versus Hal Jordan, that's no longer a threat for me. Versus like any turn 0 taunter that isn't Harley Quinn or Eclipso, that's good for me. Or if you wanted to like boost your team up right away instead, play the defensive game, you could shield everybody, mend everybody, give somebody some turn meter because. I just did a Tewty-toon on her. I released it last night, and I misread her second ability. I thought it was give 25% turn meter to everyone on your team, but it turns out it's only to the target of the damage immunity that you're giving. So that kind of disappointed me a little bit just because of the fact that the damage immunity falls off as soon as that character that you gave it to gets a turn. So it's almost like, why give that person a damage immunity? But I just kind of decided to ignore the damage immunity and just kind of be like, okay, I'm giving my team shields and mends, and I'm going to try and make sure that this guy on my team gets the next turn. So that's how I think about that.
She's a character that I think if you don't understand her kit and you just run her into battle, she's going to perform very poorly, which is how I usually play. So she started out, I mean, I will just kind of ignore their kit and then just run in and just play with them for a little while. And then I'll go back and read it. And she's one of those advanced level, you got to know what you're doing, got to know when to use certain abilities. And then I think she'll perform better. And I do think that her purging 4 buffs from the targets is an underrated ability that I think a lot of people are overlooking. So that's a lot of buffs.
It is. It helps me against Azrael too because it gets rid of his true sight right away.
Yeah.
But my team is a pretty slow team, so she's actually the first one to go, despite the fact that she's only at 113 speed.
Yeah, that was the other thing that was kind of underwhelming to me. Like, when you look at her stats, everything seems like it's around the median. You know, nothing is particularly high, nothing is particularly low. And so it's just kind of underwhelming in that regard.
Yeah, you definitely don't bring her for damage. I mean, she does pretty mediocre damage. And she's not the tankiest character. She's not super squishy, but she's not gonna, you gotta protect her a little bit, or she can protect herself, but she does a lot of different things, so you kinda gotta, that's her advantages. She works on buffs, debuffs, and she can do the purging, she can do the slowing, speed ups. She's got a lot of stuff in her kit, and her 1 is still bugged, her transferring the 2 debuffs, correct, Tootie?
Correct. Yes. They did fix the call assist pretty quickly, though, which I'm very happy about. I talked to Joker about it. They said that that bug is still on their list and that there are more updates planned to come out soon.
Now, the 75% chance is that call assist part of that 75% chance?
Yes. Yep.
Okay, so I didn't always see it happen, so I thought maybe it was bugged. Because like Bizarro, my RNG is very poor at times.
If you see the strength downs get applied passively, then the call assist should also proc.
Okay. That makes sense. So let's talk legendary orders. I know you originally said you were torn between the 2 and the 4. Personally, I think the 4 is hands down the first one. Do you guys agree, disagree?
I do agree.
That call assist is kind of her meat and potatoes.
Yes, very much so. It definitely allows like slower characters like Doomsday or Hush or even Raish to like benefit from their basic a lot better.
And do you agree with that, Bizarro?
I am pulling mine up now to make sure I'm remembering them right in my head.
And that's her call assist on her passive.
The 2 is the 25%
Yes, that was
shield
the
to
first
everyone.
one I took. That was the first one I took.
And then I think most people agree that the 25% shield to all allies should be the next one. And I kind of feel like that's if you're looking at what would be the ideal legendary rank, L2 would probably be it. You guys agree with that, or?
Maybe. So I would agree that those are definitely the 2 like minimums. But I think that 5 is also a really, really beneficial one just because I know it's a little more niche because not every team is a debuff team. But the extra turn meter is pretty crucial, or not crucial, but it's clutch. It comes in clutch.
Now, originally you had her 3 as her legendary. Would you move the 5 up for the turn meter now?
Yes.
I would absolutely agree with that because I think I personally would do her 3 last once the bug is
Really?
fixed because her 3 now doesn't do a lot of damage even with 20%.
I guess.
Yeah, because I'm surprised that you would take the 25% shield so early, because that's actually the one. If I usually only take my character's legendary 4, and that's the one I actually plan to leave off.
The
Because,
shield?
yeah, because 1 and 3 work together, where she's transferring debuffs, and then once she transfers those debuffs, she'll do extra damage on 3. And so I saw them working hand in hand. But I do agree that 5 should be one of the priorities.
I see your point, but her damage just isn't there. She's like, and not only that, but when you start a PvP fight, you don't like that's kind of situational because whether or not you have a debuff on you, or whatchamacallit, her basic already does apply 2 strength downs as it is, so you don't need the transfer to get the 3 to
That's
proc.
true. That's true. That's
And
a good point.
20% of minimal damage is only 20% more
Right.
on minimal damage.
Yeah, I was going to joke and say, well, she's not doing a lot of damage because you guys didn't take that 20%.
I actually took it because early on I didn't know what to take, and 1 and 4 were bugged, and I'd already taken 4, so I was like, I'll take the 3 and see what it does. I can't even tell the difference, to be honest with you.
Right. I just use it for the purge, honestly.
Yeah, and that's most matches. I either open with her 2 to get the shield. I mean, 25% shield is nothing to sleep on. That's a lot of shield.
Yeah.
Especially for the entire team.
And
I think the point about the strength downs is a really good one. I don't know why that didn't occur to me, because you're already getting the debuffs there, so you don't really need to transfer them. I guess I was thinking about Ultraman and sort of the way Ultraman works with debuffs and transferring debuffs.
Right.
Which I do think that's useful, but I think I'd probably take that 4th. If you had to leave one off, the damage, even though typically, I mean, I know where you're coming from. I took it early too, just because I thought, hey, that's probably the better move, but because her damage is so low, it's not great.
Yeah, then I would shift it from what I previously thought.
But I like Tootie. I open the matches a lot, especially if you're facing Hal Jordan or people you want to remove buffs. You just open with her 3 and then.
Whatchamacallit. So I do disagree with you a little bit. I would take the 3 before the 1 just because only transferring 2 debuffs isn't a whole lot. The current meta doesn't really have a lot of debuffs in at the moment anyway. And when she crits, which is obviously 1 in 4 chance, but if it does happen, she can actually deal some significant damage, and the 20% adds to that. So I also currently the 1 is bugged, and I know Joker said that there is an imminent fix in the works, but I mean my Hush bug still isn't fixed, and I can't really exactly just trust that right off the bat. So until that bug is fixed, I would just take the 1 last because it currently doesn't do anything.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Okay.
Now that I've shifted my thinking about the debuffs, I agree with that.
Okay, maybe you're right. Maybe I will update her on my sheet and put 1 last, at least until it's fixed and people can play around with it. But you're right. I mean, you can't transfer a stun because she's stunned. So the only really significant buff that you may want to transfer would be Doom. But you're just gonna purge it off anyway with one of her many debuff purging moves. So.
Whatchamacallit, the cool thing though about her 5th ability is that if she is stunned and she has a couple other debuffs, then there's a good chance she could purge that stun off and still be able to do her turn along with anyone else on your team because it's a team-wide ability.
Oh yeah, that's a good point. So what other than your Roz type team, is there any other teams you think she would excel on?
I think that the synergy with Hawkman is awesome because I don't know if you watched my Tewty-toon on her yet, but
not yet.
If she gets hit, then she passively puts strength downs on the enemy that hit her, and then she calls an assist on that person as well. So if she calls Hawkman to assist, then it's a guaranteed stun right off the bat. And I did test it in my Tewty-toon. It worked brilliantly. I think that combo is phenomenal. And Doomsday can ramp better. She works, in my opinion, best with the slower characters, or just generally people who have a really good basic, and you want to amplify the usage of that basic. She works pretty well with them too. So,
you know who I like her with? Azrael.
No, don't say it. God damn it. Jeez.
I'm actually starting to hate him too. When you see him on a team, he is the hands down scariest character to face.
Yep, I saw that coming a mile away, but that's all right. I fought that battle and I lost it, so I guess that's where we're at.
And it becomes so obvious when you're running your own Azrael against another, and
Yeah.
how much the other one dominates versus your own.
Yeah, I can't remember. I can't remember what podcast. I think I was listening to Costly and Joshua's. And for those of you out there, of the many podcasts that are floating around these days, Joshua's, who does streaming all the time, and Costly, who's a fellow Alliance mate, they do a podcast called Crime Alley. What the hell? Crime Alley something. What is it called?
Crime Alley Cast or something like that.
I apologize, but I finally had time to listen to them all. They do a really good cast. It's partially a little bit about DC Legends, but it's also more about DC Comics, so they go heavy into that, which is good because I'm 8 years behind on comic books, and I'll never ever catch up at this point. So I'd rather just hear their takes on the stories at this point. So
I feel that.
Yeah, I can't make the time. Bizarro, do you still read?
I tried. If you remember, I did a few videos like the one with Owlman where I tried to include some of the lore and stuff. But like you, I don't have a lot of time to keep up with it. And the stories are great. And I will say, I was really enjoying reading New 52, and I wasn't a big fan of the change to Rebirth. I really like how sharp and edgy that the New 52 was, and then they kind of went back to a little bit of campy, take your vitamins and do your homework and all that kind of stuff, and it's just not as tempting to read for me.
It's so funny. Everybody hated people are so split. People either loved or hated New 52.
Yep. Well, I have no allegiance to the old lore, and I can understand why if somebody has an allegiance to that old stuff, that they'd be upset. But to me, it's just a lot of weight that's being carried around that prevents exploration of some of the best stories. Forever Evil was a phenomenal story to me. And even the story leading up to that, dealing with Pandora's Box, was phenomenal. I think it was called Trinity Wars. I just kind of lost interest there. read most of the new 52 stuff and then just kind of fizzled out.
I enjoy it. I just never have the time. I don't have time for anything ever. So, and I have to prioritize. As Tootie knows, now that he's slowed down a little bit, is I'm getting an echo on you, Tootie.
Oh, my bad.
Doing these podcasts and all the editing and everything that's involved takes a lot of time.
It takes so much time, and it's disgusting, and it's expensive, and like I love it and I hate it, and it's a love-hate relationship.
Yeah, I can relate.
So you're not doing your episodes anymore, are you, Bizarro? You're
I
taking
haven't
a little
done
break.
one in a long time. The theme of my show was always more like educational, cover topics to teach people how to, sharpen their skills a little bit. And I just haven't found anything that really grabbed me that I wanted to do. I was really proud of the raid video we did. And we got a lot of positive feedback on that it helped a lot of people. But I just haven't found any topics that I thought, here's something I really want to do. And I feel bad because I do still have one patron, and I don't know what they're paying for at this point. But it creates an additional level of pressure, when you're essentially getting paid to do it. And, it's not a lot, but you want to give to the people who are donating to the channel. And if I'm not producing anything, I tell them, I say, please don't keep giving me anything because there's, nothing to be giving for. But hopefully, a topic will occur to me or something, and then I can keep to trying to help people sharpen their skills to play better.
Yeah, when I announced my end, or not an end, but semi-retirement, I also disabled my Patreon because I didn't want to feel like I was obligated to anyone.
Well,
I didn't even know you could do that. I'll do that.
If anybody listening was donating to Tewty-toon and wants to move over, feel free.
Go for it.
But we hope to have, Tootie's still doing his stuff on his own channel, and of course he'll be popping in and out of our episodes for the B- tunes.
Yeah, you're not wrong. I'll be there.
Well, I also want to say that I hope everyone voted, and that I hope they all voted for Detective Chimp.
Oh, I was about to cringe really hard right there.
No. It's all about Detective Chimp.
Okay, fair enough.
Did you like the, I didn't have a chance to talk to you about it, Bizarro, did you like the anniversary event? What was your thoughts on it?
Yeah, I thought that was a home run. It was really nice to see that. The one thing I suggested in the thread that was put out there asking for suggestions is to even it out so that lower level players could be more engaged with that, is they should have allowed a multiplier at a higher energy cost. So if I'm a lower level player, it'd be sort of like raids where I could pay for ×3 or ×5 for my tunes, but it just costs me more blue energy. And so that way, those who have higher level rosters are rewarded for having that by not having to pay as much for the energy, but lower level players could still participate because they have access to that multiplier.
Yeah, it's not bad.
Sure.
I'm not sure I would necessarily like that personally, but
Yeah.
because
It kind of makes an easy button for veterans at the same time. And I know that we don't have to do it, but because it's there, it makes it tempting. So I like the guaranteed hardness, but they should have advertised it probably a bit better. Like, hey, this is for endgame people. Anyone new, or maybe they just had like a second type that was very, very easy and less rewards.
I just want to see the events that they have now. They have normal, legendary, and they need to do heroic.
Yeah.
Agreed.
Tune it to that or harder.
Well, that's what we've been asking for so long, is something to challenge our rosters. I ended up using Lex, Wonder Girl, Hippolyta, and Donna Troy, and I could just keep my team going and going and healing. It took a while, but it was fun to go through the different nodes and actually have to think about who I use. Whereas, normally I can just, all right, Black Adam's available. We'll just put him in by himself and roast everybody. So it was really nice to have an event where I was back to strategizing against the computer, because that's been limited to PvP. And so I really appreciated that. And I appreciated the rewards too. I mean, that is really some nice rewards for what was it, a 3-day event?
Yeah, I loved it. So I hope we see some variation of that in the future, which I
Well,
think.
Reeves did say that we're not getting raids in December, so I'm praying that they do this again or something similar in December instead, so that we can still get our rebirth crystals.
And the other thing I've been begging for is holiday skins.
Oh,
So-
yes. Give me like a sexy Santa Talia.
Oh, it's so funny because I actually said, I said to Reeves, I said, Mrs. Talia Claus, name your price. They could put that thing up for $199 and I would buy it.
Well,
I
I
don't
want
know
an
if I
art.
would buy it,
I want an Arcus Chummick Hanukkah Harry.
There's just so many things you could do with holiday themed skins. I mean, you think about it, like every other game does different holiday skins. So, and they've really improved with the skins, like massively. Like when they first came out, they were just retoned over skins, and then the last several months they've been better and better and better. Even the Black Lantern Martian Manhunter was actually different enough that it wasn't just a reskin. It looked good. Like I actually really surprised when I first heard what it was, but without seeing it. I was like, great, Black Lantern Martian Manhunter. He's gonna be lame, but he actually looks cool.
The only skin that wasn't a Black Lantern one that I didn't like very much is the Harley Quinn one, because she looks almost exactly like the other Harley Quinn, the Quite Vexing, and it throws me off every time I see it in like
I
Red
agree.
Alerts or PvP. I'm like, oh, it's just the other Harley Quinn. We're good. There's no Tantra here. And then I get in the fight and I'm screwed because I didn't account for the evasions.
I do like the skin, however, I have accidentally picked the wrong MJ, wrong Harley on numerous occasions. When I've in raids a couple times, I meant to grab Harley Quinn Quite Vexing, and I grabbed the other one a couple times. So yeah, that is a little annoying sometimes, but I like the skin, so I can't really complain too much.
And a lot of Marvel fans were happy to get Moon Knight in the game, so that's pretty cool.
He
Oh,
really-
for the Dark Azrael?
Yes.
he does look a lot like him.
The first
Yes.
comparison I saw was to Mask of the Phantasm. I didn't think that was quite right, but Moon Knight is pretty close.
I think the portrait is pretty cool, and that's the only thing that I like about it, because I'm sad that they gave a brand new character a skin so soon. But he's gonna be a cash cow for WB for quite a while, probably.
Oh, I'm sure that month they made more money than they've ever made.
Oh, I don't doubt that at
Well,
all.
Artemis and Cersei month, I think, was a
Pretty big month. Both of those characters are
Yeah.
phenomenal.
both of those.
I'm not seeing a lot of Artemis hype though anymore.
She's probably, I would say she's in my like top 3 favorite characters. I mean, I use her more than I think I do use her more than any other character.
I saw a lot of folks using her in the anniversary event.
I
did.
think you're one of the few then, because anytime I'm in PvP, I see Azrael 10 times more than I see Artemis.
Yeah, I agree. I don't see Artemis. I
Oh
don't
yeah,
face
for
her that much.
PvP, yeah.
But at RB5, she can murder all reds and blues. So I need to buff. I need one turn to buff, and then I can AoE everybody.
Sounds challenging.
She's one of those characters that is well worth RB5. Like the difference between like Azrael, I don't think you see as big of a difference on Rebirth just because he gets so many strength ups and it doesn't matter. But with Artemis, I mean even greens, if they're at half life, they're dead. And I like that there's heal immune, so I use her for Grundy and all those annoying characters that want to revive.
I'm just waiting for a Stargirl rework where she is anti-strength up and anti-intelligence up, and will just be perfect counter to Azrael and potentially other Lex. Lex would be great. A Lex counter would be great.
I want to see a real Lex counter one day. One day.
Agreed.
I'm still waiting on my Wonder Girl counter.
Yeah, I thought Azrael was going to be her counter, but he really isn't. He's an enabler still.
Until there's something to fight a passive, it just won't. It won't do it.
They're just countering her with power creep at this point.
Yeah, I mean, she's not. She doesn't scare me like she used to, but she's still annoying at times. But and she kind of ruins your buff heavy teams that you want to play with. But more interested in seeing, like, I want to see like World's Greatest Detective block passives or something. Like it just feels like a Batman move.
Just change silence. It's fine. It's my niche debuff anyway, so let's go with that.
I think it would be too prevalent because I mean so many characters are like dependent on their passives. I think that would be like a Wonder Girl. It would end up being oppressive again.
Well, I think the way it should be is a compromise where it only protects against passive damage moves. So it wouldn't protect against all passives, but only ones that cause damage.
Well, that's Brainiac.
Yeah.
Sorta, because if
just,
like let's say a Wonder Girl has silence on her, it just means she can't use her whip passively. Or if Steppenwolf has silence on him, he can't retaliate for one of his teammates missing. Something to that, like that.
I would love to see it, but it'd probably be incredibly hard to code. But I guess that's a little off topic too.
Yeah, I mean I've been using Brainiac a lot more because of Azrael, and he does pretty good. He's good against Arcus, he's good against Wonder Girl, but he can't stop him from buffing like a madman, and then once he gets his turn, he'll still... I mean, I've had him one-shot my RB5 Hawk Girl on more than one occasion. So I'm just like, damn.
That's disgusting.
Yeah. But anyway, I gotta get going, guys, so I gotta wrap this up. But I appreciate you both coming on.
Thanks for having me.
The same.
All right, guys. Have a good one.
Thank you for listening to this episode of WROL Broadcast. Please help us out by becoming a Patreon and getting access to special Patreon-only shows. Just go to patreon.com/WROL Broadcast. We also now have DC face masks at our store. Be sure to check it out. Dang! This episode crit harder than Josh U. Roars.